and investigations will come to order. Without objection, the chair is authorized to declare a recess of the subcommittee at any time. Subcommittee is meeting today to hear testimony on Biden's border crisis, examining the impacts of international cartels targeting Indian country. Under Committee Rule 4F, any oral opening statement at the hearing are limited to the chairman and the ranking minority member. I therefore ask unanimous consent that all other members' statements be made part of the hearing record if they are submitted in accordance with the Committee Rule 3.0. Without objection, so ordered. I ask unanimous consent that the following members be allowed to sit and participate in today's hearing. The gentleman from Alabama, Mr. Carl. The gentlewoman from Wyoming, Ms. Hageman. The gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Crane. The gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Garcia. The gentlewoman from Illinois, Ms. Ramirez. And the gentleman from Montana, Mr. Zenke. Without objection, so ordered. I now recognize myself for an opening statement. Good morning, everyone. I would like to take a moment to give a special thanks to our witnesses for coming before the committee today. The topic, Biden's border crisis, examining the impacts of international cartels targeting Indian country, is not an easy one, and we know that the ramifications of discussing this issue publicly can be difficult. So again, thank you for being here. In addition, I would also like to take a moment to reflect on someone who cannot be here with us today, who would be. Given the gravity of this topic, I know that the full committee ranking member, Grijalva, would want to be here. However, given his recent diagnosis, he needs to be at home to receive treatments and recover. We welcome the witnesses from his district and wish him all the best for a speedy recovery. It is no secret that the international criminal cartels have taken advantage of President Biden's open border policies to traffic massive amounts of drugs and humans into the United States. It was just a matter of time before they turned their sights to Indian country, which is now experiencing the impacts of the cartel's illicit drug trade through increased crime, overdosing, deaths, and more. President Biden has repeatedly failed to address the influx of illegal immigration since taking office and undermined numerous efforts that have had to strengthen our border. He immediately issued directives and executive orders ending the policies of the Trump administration, which have been successful in curtailing illegal immigration. Because of these actions and more, illegal immigration into the United States has reached an all-time high, embroiling the nation into an unprecedented crisis. Customs and Border Patrol Protection reports more than 9.4 million encounters with illegal immigrants since President Biden took office, including more than 7.7 million illegal crossings along the southern border. The Biden border policies have allowed criminal cartels to reap massive profits from their human trafficking and drug trade, amounting to tens of billions of dollars of revenue. Despite what my friends across the aisle may say, Republicans have been working to address the crisis at the border since we were given the majority. We passed H.R. 2, the Secure the Border Act, back in 2023, and have been waiting for the Democratic Senate to finally act on this legislation. This administration's carelessness at the southern border has enabled dangerous criminal cartels to establish extensive distribution networks for the trafficking of dangerous and illegal substances into rural Indian communities, many located thousands of miles from the southern border. This has led to an increase in violence, crime, and drug overdoses that have been ravaging communities across Indian country. These cartels actively target rural communities in Indian country, due to the vast expanses of the often unpatrolled lands, ongoing jurisdictional complications with law enforcement, and high prices of illegal drugs in rural areas can command, particularly those located far from our southern border in Indian country. They exploit this situation to become entrenched in Indian communities, particularly those out west. Unfortunately, law enforcement is not well equipped on most Indian reservations to deal with the threat of the cartels. The Northern Cheyenne tribe in Montana rely on only 2 federally funded Bureau of Indian Affairs tribal police officers per shift to patrol more than 440,000 acres of land, home to roughly 6,000 residents. Similarly, the Crow Reservation has only 2 police officers patrolling 2.5 million acres at any time. The tribes in the region are suffering. The Fort Peck Reservation in Montana has dealt with the devastating effects of the cartel activity in their region for years, including fentanyl addiction and associated crimes and violence. Tragically, their youth are most exposed to the dangers presented by the cartels, and unless something is done quickly, an entire generation could be lost to fentanyl addiction. In Wyoming, the Northern Arapaho and Eastern Shoshone tribes on the Wind River Reservation have repeatedly struggled with incursions from the cartels. At first, meth was thrust upon the Wind River tribe. But now fentanyl has taken over. With minimal resources to stop the cartels and to solve the drug crisis, the cartels continue to plague the Wind River Reservation. That's my home area. It is unacceptable that anyone is forced to live under the threat of these dangerous criminal cartels right in the heart of America. With this hearing, I hope to raise the alarm to Congress on the cartel's invasion into Indian country and the terrible impacts on Indian communities. Despite the policy difference we may have from time to time, I know that everyone here in this room recognizes the severity and the urgency of this issue. I appreciate my Democratic colleagues' engagement today, and I hope we can all build upon this hearing in order to protect Indian communities and the cartel's presence on the Indian lands and to stem the flow of drug and human trafficking across our southern border.